Hello, world. Welcome to Comic Book News. I'm your old pal, Dan Shaheen. I see a lot of people watching this stream already. A lot of you probably came expecting EVS Redux, the second Ethan Van Sciver interview. That's not going to happen today. It's going to happen. At least I think so. I mean, look, you people might not know this, but Ethan approached me both times for these interviews. Like, I didn't ask him to come on the show. He wants to come on the show and talk, and that's fine with me. I especially wanted to do something a little bit new because I don't know. I didn't really like the last interview for a couple of reasons, and I'll talk about that with Ethan when he comes back on. There's things I liked about it. There's things I definitely didn't like, and there's things that I'll do a little bit differently this time around, I think. So anyway, thank you for watching. I see a lot of activity in the comments section already. Thank you guys for tuning in. I would love if you would consider hitting that subscribe button down there. You know, it's really easy. It takes a second. You don't have to smash it. You can just gently caress it. Works the same. So please consider hitting that thing, subscribing, supporting the channel, blah, 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 blah. The other thing you can do is you can send your comics to me, and you can send them to the Million Dollar Mailbox. And that's what we're going to do today. Send them to where? Comic Book News. Wait a minute. Let's do this one. Million Dollar Mailbox, P.O. Box 1163, Arcata, California, 95518. Now, the mailbox is overflowing. I have a ton of comics to review. We're not going to look at them all today. We can't. I have so many. In fact, I just got another humongous box of incredible looking comics, totally free of charge, from the good folks at Last Gasp. They sent me some super cool stuff. I had Ron Turner and Colin Turner and John Cook on our last episode, and we talked about Slow Death Zero. If you haven't read Slow Death Zero, get it. It's awesome. But they sent me some books, and there's not a stinker among them. They sent me some of the best old stuff and some of the best new stuff that's coming out. I will review it ASAP. When that P is going to be, I'm not totally positive. Okay, what else? Oh, next week, we've got a really fun show. It's going to be, wow, we're heading to the neighborhood of make-believe, otherwise known as Pittsburgh, Steel Town. Yeah, that's right. We're going to be talking to Heroinberg and The Edge. Marvin Wynn, I believe, is his name. And we're going to talk, they're two indie guys out of Pittsburgh, obviously. Now, Heroinberg wrote to me to say, look, I don't like the Steelers. Why always the Steelers? And I'm sorry. I did a new thumbnail for that one. That's up now, but I had to get some mileage out of this terrible towel picture too. Tune in and check that out. It should be a lot of fun. I'm from Pittsburgh. If you didn't know that, originally I was born there. My whole family's from there. So it's been really fun talking with the Pittsburgh people. You know, Jim Ruggs from Pittsburgh, Ed Pisker's from Pittsburgh, Tom Scioli's from Pittsburgh, all friends of the show who've been on here before, and hope to have them on again. All right, enough jawboning. it's time. It's time to do the show. But first, today we're going to be talking about comics. So I don't know that I want to be here in the bookshelves. A lot of people ask me what's going on behind the bookshelves. Well, I think it's time you found out what we've got going on behind the bookshelves. So let's go ahead. Where?
The bat pulse.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We're in the Bat Cave. We're going to be checking out all kinds of cool stuff. I got a lot more stuff in store for you today. We got killer stuff on the $1 Million Comic Cam. But what would the $1 Million Mailbox be without our good pal, AIT Comics, AIT Planet Lair Impresario, Larry Young? Welcome back to the show.
Dan, how are you, man?
Great. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm awesome. It's great to be here.
We need better background there.
Hey,
oh, there we go.
Can I tell you something funny about the Turners? Now, of course,
Please
Ron
do.
Turner. I saw a bit of your thing last time. What was it? Like a week ago now.
Yeah.
But Ron Turner's obviously like a legend. But you want to hear my connection with Colin Turner?
Sure. Yeah.
This is awesome. My brother-in-law, Mimi's brother, is his best friend from preschool.
Oh.
Isn't that great? So those guys have known each other for like 40 years, 35 years.
This was my first time meeting him. He was a cool dude. I could see Last Gasp is, in good hands.
Yeah.
Sure.
Those guys know what they're doing.
He sent me, man, dude. He sent me some beautiful stuff. Some stuff I'd seen before. You ever see Junko Mizuno? You ever heard of her?
That's a Japanese thing, right? No?
Yeah, it is. Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
I haven't seen that project, but I've heard of her. Yeah.
Okay, we'll look at it a little bit. Maybe in the $1 Million Mailbox.
Is that's not the same artist that did Pink Bunny with a Gun or whatever that is, right?
Oh,
is that the same artist?
To tell you the truth, I haven't even read it. I just cracked this box open. I'm familiar with her work, but I don't own any of the books. I don't own any of these books they sent me, and they're super awesome. We'll take a quick sneak peek at those in a minute.
Sounds good.
But I don't know. Why are we messing around, Larry? Why don't we do that thing? You know what we got to do, right? You know where we want to go.
Yeah, man.
Where do we go?
To the $1 Million Mailbox. I mean,
that's right. The $1 Million Comics Cam.
We're on a mission from God.
Yeah, $1 Million Mailbox. Here we go.
I gotta work on my enthusiasm level there. I'm like, what is Dan talking about? He knows why.
Oh, yeah, that thing you do, the mailbox thing. We
Look
can
at
try
that.
that again. We'll have another
that's all right. People know.
Man, I worked so hard on that $1 Million Mailbox stinger. Let's see that one more time, shall we?
We're on a mission from God.
Yeah. Man, I hate
that together in about. I threw that together in about 10 minutes before this show. It's so wonderful. Oh, right. And here, this was going to feature into my EVS review today. Salamandroid card, and I got some of his other works here, but oh well. Instead, let's pivot to a different kind of reptile.
Can we just apologize to all of EVS's fans that they show up and get me? I can't think of a lesser overlap on the Venn diagram than his fans.
I don't know about that, Larry.
I really don't think there's
a
big cyber frog astronauts in trouble contingent.
I think a fan of that of those comics are more likely to have heard of Astronauts in Trouble maybe than your average Joe, for sure.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know if they like it.
Well, right. I don't care if they like it or not. Just thanks for your $13, right?
Come on. All right. You know what? To paraphrase, I want to paraphrase the great Bob Newhart. I am not here to denigrate Comicsgate comics. And for you Comicsgate fans out there, denigrate, that means to put down. Okay. So, all right, Archaic, we reviewed this before by Kirk Edward Burdick. I reviewed it, rather. This was a beautiful kickstarted, or was it Indiegogo'd? I forget. Graphic novel. This guy is a really terrific, talented artist, sequential artist. The only problem I had with it, if you could call it a problem, is there was no dialogue at all. It's sort of told almost like in narration captions. And it fits the story, so that works, but it just didn't feel it just didn't feel like comics. Now that has been changed. He sent me this preview copy, okay, of his new work, Galacto Pit Fighter. And this thing, oh my gosh, let's look at this because I've already thoroughly reviewed. I already thoroughly reviewed the other stuff. I'm gonna get a $1 million adjustment here.
What's your feeling at hardcover? What was the page count on the one you already reviewed?
Oh yeah, the one I reviewed before. What was it? It was like
it was more than a flop.
No page. Oh yeah, no page numbers. Pet peeve of mine, but you know.
That's pretty bold to do no dialogue in something for that long. Like if you were, you could probably get away with it 22-page floppy, but you know, you got to have some strong storytelling. I mean, it looks fine, just passing the flip test, right?
It's totally passes the flip test. That's the thing. It's a bit dense in its reading, like a lot of stuff that has a lot of text, but it's rewarding. It's well written, and dude, the guy is a talented cartoonist. There's no doubt about that. As you can see here, now Galacto Pit Fighter. It's all about comic storytelling. Okay. I mean, I don't think he has let any more than maybe 2 panels per page on any one of these pages, but what panels?
Yeah, that's the guy's storytelling's right there.
It's a really kind of weird, twisted story. This kind of general guy, he's got this mentally disabled son who he wants to join the army, but like he's too mentally disabled. The army won't take him. And he's saying, we just need to get him a gun. Let's get him a musket. And then he can join the army. And it's just weird, but in the right way, in the best way.
I like his color palette he chose. That's pretty, it's not garish. It's pretty cool.
Oh, I love it. I think it's a step up. And then finally we get on the very back cover, because this is just a preview of the Kickstarter that's coming out. And we get a preview of the titular Galacto Pit Fighter himself.
Nice.
And I don't know about you, but I want to see where this book goes for sure.
Yeah, no, that looks hot as hell.
Okay, so it's coming it says Kickstarter June 2021. So maybe we'll get Kirk in here. He's written to me. He's a fan from way back before anything. So he's tops in my book. All right. Galacto Pit Fighter.
Yeah, no controversy there. Hey, that's a good comic. Next.
I loved it. Let's talk about some stuff that Fantagraphics sent me. Okay, Larry?
Yeah.
Let's start Euro. You remember this book from the 80s?
No.
I remember seeing it.
In the 80s, I was all about John Byrne's FF.
Sure.
And all the first comic stuff, American Flag. So something like that, if I saw it, I would have just gone right by it.
I think it was originally published in the 80s. I want to say in the 80s. I remember seeing these. Oh my gosh, some of them as far back as 77, 83. Okay. So I remember seeing issues of this on the stand. Some like in quarter bins and stuff over the years. It wasn't like a super popular thing, but it's really cool, European style cartooning.
I love it. It's obviously sharp. I like that logo. Like Nuft is a hard thing to sell, right? It's not like Superman or Batman. You get what's going on there, but right. So the graphic design is kind of has to pull more weight. And I'm not a giant funny animal guy, but I would read that.
Yeah,
that looks great.
What's cool? It's very Marxian. It's it's sort of set in the modern times. So it's like this family of dragons that dragons live a long time, but there's almost like a racial prejudice against dragons, against the species of dragons in this world, in this universe. I find I've actually seen that same kind of theme happen. If you ever read Black Sad,
yes,
you ever read Black Sad?
Yeah, 2003. Last of the Independents got knocked out of the Eisner for that book.
Oh,
very controversial in our house because it wasn't technically eligible.
But what a book, Larry! If you're gonna get
it's a great book. I was just throwing some sass in there. You know,
because it was originally European or something, or what's the technicality?
I forget what it was. I think it missed the deadline of being published by a week or so, and they just put it in anyway. It was something minor like that.
Hey guys, Dan, read and respond to your very slow moving chat. Tell us your bio. I tell you what, guys, we'll do like I always do. I do a Q&A session at the end because I can't run this whole thing and watch all the comments.
You need some.
But I will definitely talk about it. I'll definitely talk about it. We can talk at the end. I'll do an ask me anything. You can say ask me whatever you want. I don't care.
Hey, me
if
too.
You want it to stick around, and Larry. If you want to stick around, do a super chat, and I'll take.
I'm not going to tell any of my recipe secrets in the kitchen, though.
All right, so Nuft. This was quality stuff. I don't know who's fondly remembering this in the States. Like, it wasn't a super hit, like I said, but there were enough issues of it, and it was enough of a quality work that I think what I'm seeing is Fantagraphics going back to their catalog and saying, hey, what might work in today's market where like YA fair and younger comics are all the rage. And I would say these are of such a high quality mark of cartooning that they're going to stack up really well in the current market. So that's Nuft and the Last Dragons. I want to look at the next one. I want to look at is another. Speaking of Fantagraphics, all ages fair. I want to take a look at this.
Man, their stuff is so pretty. Just like the actual book as an object.
Yeah,
they always do great. Great finishes on the outside. The matte look and the shiny stuff. And
it's hard to tell whether there's spot varnish on this Nuft
spot
cover.
Varnish. The paper. I mean, Fantagraphics, man. They're aptly named. Their graphics are fantastic.
When I had Eric Reynolds in here talking about that, I'm like, why does your stuff look so incredibly great? And Marvel's and a lot of DC stuff just looks like hot garbage.
Do you remember what he said? Because I have a theory about that.
He was just like, I don't know. Nobody cares over there, I guess, because it doesn't cost that much to make it a better book. It really doesn't.
That's sort of the unkind corporate rivalry answer. Because I'm sure that they do care. But I got a feeling, because we used to do stuff like that all the time. Remember, like landscape books and slip covers and stuff. But I have a feeling it's because Marvel and DC have they make print contracts. So I have no idea what the numbers are, but they're like, we're printing 200 comics a year of this particular kind, and so they get a deal. And so there's not much room for experimentation in the object stuff there. But come on, like DC does great stuff, like their Absolute books from a while back, that Batman black and white with the foil stamped hardcover stuff.
There are exceptions for sure.
You know
Marvel, though, what's the best Marvel collection, Larry?
I was just gonna say Chiarello leaving DC. I think that's probably different now. So you're probably right. It's all just recyclable garbage.
I saw some European Marvel editions that looked really nice, but not American.
I'm gonna get 2 emails about that. Somebody.
All right, I want to look at this one now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I was just gonna say I don't know about Marvel. Who knows?
Their stuff looks terrible. The trade dress is awful. The spines look horrible. They just are nondescript nothings on the shelf, and that's your biggest selling point is your spine. So come on, Marvel, get it.
I got you.
All right,
I got you.
All right. I should get Mike Hansen in here, who does some freelance editing for Marvel and stuff. He might have some more insights in that stuff. Okay. Nobody Likes You, Greta Grump by Cathy Malkasian. This is another Fantagraphics joint, and it's a good one. This really reminds me of like kids' books from the 70s, or maybe the kids' books that I read. It's got a Roald Dahl feel to it. It's got the magical protagonist, this turtle dude, but he is just a dick. And he's really trying to teach this girl, Greta, a lesson. He's just a jerk to her from beginning to end. He's really like a snooty kind of jerk. Maybe that's why I liked him. I don't know. It's a fun and clever character a story, and he sort of teaches her to get beyond her grumpy attitude, taking her to a magical land, and they go on a magical quest and they do their things. But it's just got a down to earth kind of like kids feel that I don't know. I haven't felt out of a lot of kids literature that I'm reading. When I read stuff for my kids, the more modern stuff doesn't have this kind of downbeatness that I remember from kids' books when I was younger.
Yeah. Wow. Speaking of color palettes, that's he went so purpley, and
yeah,
that's not usually what you get out of kids' books. It's always usually bright sunshine, birthday parties, and
that's what I'm saying.
And stuff. Yeah, that's really cool.
And because it's all about mood, the story's all about mood. It's very appropriate in kids' moods and bad moods and this and that, whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
who is that?
I loved it.
Cathy Malkasian. That's pretty cool.
Malkasian, who I'm not familiar with any of her previous work.
That's Armenian.
But,
right?
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I should be because it says here Eisner Award-winning cartoonist Cathy Malkasian.
Huh.
So I'm definitely, this makes me want to go look into her stuff and
yeah, that's great. I like that a lot. I bet you she got her Eisner for another Fantagraphics book.
I wouldn't doubt it. Or that might have gotten her the attention.
Right.
You needed to get them to pick. So
cover not
cover
final.
Not final.
I love this already. That's awesome. Cover
well,
not
this
final.
is bizarre. And he said Crime Funnies, okay, by Max Huffman. And I'm going to apologize right now to Chris Pitzer at Adhouse Books. This is dinged up, along with a bunch of his books that got dinged up because they were in my car when I had a car accident. I flipped my Subaru with my wife and kids, both kids in it. I flipped it 3 times on the 101 and had to crawl out the sunroof. But I rescued the book, from the flaming wreckage, Larry.
I know.
I went back in and pulled out these comics because
that's amazing.
I love comics. What's really amazing is this is a beautiful,
it's more valuable now,
really unique thing.
That's been tumble dried in your old Subaru.
Totally, dude. Wow.
Do you remember that book Couscous Express we did? Rob G did the art.
Yes.
Rob G did the art, and he lived in like some kind of meth house or crack thing, and the guy set it on fire by accident, and he ran into this burning building to get his penciled art from Couscous Express, and he gave me a page, and it's all burned in the corner, and I'm like, this is my favorite page of art ever because that went through some shit, just like this book.
You gotta suffer for your art, right?
Yeah, man.
So, well, this book has been through it, but dude, look at this. This is it's avant-garde type cartooning. It's a storyline that does not really make perfect literal sense necessarily. It's more about a mood and a theme of kind of business and secret agents and crime rather.
That's awesome.
The only thing I can think of that it reminds me a little bit of is did you ever read that Julius Knipple real estate photographer?
I didn't know how you pronounced it, but yes, I did read that.
That's
Knipple,
how I pronounce it.
Yeah.
That's how I pronounce. I don't know, but it reminds me of that in the sense that like it's more almost like it's like a mood that it's setting, less so than a specific story. But there are specific story points to it. It's kind of hard to explain, but look at the beauty of this thing.
Hey, I got a man in my ear for that last book. Cathy Malkasian's Eisner was Percy Gloom. Do you remember that book?
I remember that title for sure, but I'm sad to say I didn't read it. I definitely remember it. I think that was from my days owning the shop. Even
crazy shout out for Steve Ukraine, Man About Town. He's a secret fan of yours, Dan.
Oh, thank you. There's a lot of those. I think a lot of secret ones anyway. Definitely not a ton in the chat right now. They didn't really love my Bob Newhart joke that much.
Yeah, EBS guys aren't gonna listen to our nonsense.
They might. Some do. I don't know.
If they had any sense.
No, I don't know. Some of these guys do. There's a few guys in the chat right now. There's a guy, Mr. Dongs. He's one of my favorites because I know he doesn't agree with what I say. I know he doesn't necessarily like me or my channel, but he's never been a dick. He's been like, you're wrong, Dan, or this is wrong. But he's just like a normal person. Like,
That's awesome.
I don't know.
I love Mr. Dongs. Put that on
Me too.
in your pipe and smoke it. Hey,
Right,
you know,
so,
getting back to Adhouse, Chris Pitzer has been like making good choices for 25 years. I really like the stuff he chooses. Not crazy commercially, you know. I mean, it's going to be hard to sell this to mom and pop in Peoria, right? But this is a solid book. I love it.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. What is it, about 6x9? The book itself? It's hard to tell based on your hands.
Not even that, dude.
No?
So it's $9.95, and it's like it's barely. This is maybe 5 inches. Like here, like let me.
No, but see, that's
reference.
That's
here's a comic for reference.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. So it's probably six or something. Yeah, no, that's great. But isn't that perfect to take into the bathroom with you, huh?
That's wonderful.
Not get poop all over your iPad.
No, it's great. It's the great size. You could throw it in your back pocket. This is the kind of thing I would expect to see in like a hipster bookstore or whatever, as well, and more likely than a comic book store, to be honest.
You know, talking about Pitzer's commercial instincts, I'm telling you, I'm not kidding. If I saw that on the rack, I wouldn't even look how much it was. I would buy it.
That's what I'm saying.
I would buy it just because it's called Cover Not Final, and I'm like,
I agree.
I know the decisions you have to make to get that's your title of the book, and I'm like, yes, that deserves all of what you went through to call that Cover Not Final deserves my $10.
I agree.
I might find that. I'm actually writing that down. I'll find that later. I'll send him $10.
That's it for the commercial stuff. Although, actually, I guess let me just real quick flash you a little preview of what because I just opened this box and I was like, oh my God, you guys are awesome. Let's see what.
Oh, the last gasp.
Yeah, the last gasp haul. I'm going
to get jealous. I'm going to get jealous.
Okay. Now. Pure trance. I'm just going to do a leaf through of these because I haven't even read them yet. Oh, that new book smell. Look at this candy coated, obscene, beautiful artwork. This is the goods. Okay. Pure trance. And then this one, I'd never even heard of this one. Strange Tale of Panorama Island. Wow. And it is bound. It's Japanese, I think, and it is bound right
manga
to left.
Style. Yeah, manga style.
But beautiful full-size hardcover volume.
That's sweet.
It's got a sort of metallic ink here. I think like a 5th color or whatever they call that.
I love the. Is that a waterfall in the middle? That design is
it's just gorgeous.
That design is crazy good.
Okay, it's a little bright under the harsh stare of the $1 Million Comics cam. Unfortunately, still working on that.
Me too. You know, I ordinarily look a little like Brad Pitt at lunchtime, but that harsh light of the $1 Million Mailbox.
Okay, so when we talked about the great Syria story in Slow Death Zero on the last show, there's a great story about Syria. Amazing journalistic kind of political stuff. And Ron asked me, Dan, I told him I was Palestinian. He goes, Dan, you never read Arab in America? And I hadn't. And now I've got it, and now I'm going to. It looks like really good stuff to me.
That's worth flipping your car right there.
Totally. And then Babylon Burning by the same artist, Tufik El Rassi. Looks like pretty cool stuff, man.
You know, I love black and white art. I would read that in one sitting. I'd make myself a good big old ham sandwich and read that whole thing at once. That looks great.
We like that.
Yeah.
Looks like good stuff, man.
That's one of the things, if there's anybody still listening to us, one of the things I think comics audience could use more of is embracing stuff like that. That's obviously good, but you might not immediately think, this is like a subject I care about. Or, you know, if I wanted to read about this, I'd read the newspaper. But man, comics is it gives you such an insight into things directly from the brains of the creators to your brain through your eyeballs. And I think comics is amazing for stuff like this.
Yeah, and unfiltered in a way that's hard to get in other media for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's switch from the Middle East to Japan. The last 2 books from Last Gasp here, a classic. Okay.
Oh, sure.
So glad they sent this because I don't have it.
You know, one of the things I love about Last Gasp, and you're talking about trade dress and logos and stuff. Yeah. They are just not afraid. The last 4 books you put up, the logos are handwritten, and they're not afraid of that. I think that's great. You know,
like not afraid of it. Like they embrace it. Yeah.
I almost pointed, like you can see right here where it says Tokyo Zombie.
So I got no idea what this is, but right away.
Ouch. That's gotta hurt.
All right, we just lost our monetization maybe on this video. You know, it's only happened on $1 Million Mailbox episodes. A couple of things that I've shown have been like, they're like, no, you're not advertiser friendly, Dan.
What was that book that had the nude superheroes? Where they had a regular version where everybody's in bikinis.
Oh yeah, Ultra, right? We had Ultra.
Right.
And another one too. It was a flip book.
Yeah.
It was a sexy flip book.
I was like, wow, that's a bold choice, Dan.
Okay, and Barefoot Jen, I honestly don't know if it's supposed to be Jen or Gen.
Oh, that's a good question. But we always said Jen on the other side of the comic store counter.
Yeah, that's what I always said, but I don't know.
I used to say Khazar a lot though instead of Khazar.
So
who knows? I know.
So this one is about sort of I believe it's about the bombing of Hiroshima and World War
absolutely.
II, right. I haven't.
That's the first place actually I found out about the ghostly image of the outlines on sidewalks and walls and stuff where people just got vaporized. I'm like, that can't be true. And that's a comic book thing. And nope, sure enough. But that's a perfect
reference. Yeah.
That's a perfect example of the kind of book where you're like, I don't think I would be interested in this bleak area of history. But Barefoot Jen is just amazing.
Okay.
You could do that from having a store. There's like a handful of books that you would just some history teacher came in and you were like, put 5 books in my hand, and it's like, you know, Barefoot Jen and Mouse and maybe From Hell. You know, I mean, comics is amazing.
Sometimes that's a tough sell but when you find the right person and you show them books like that, it opens their mind to what comics can do.
Yeah,
I used to love doing that. All right, now let's open our minds a little more, Larry, because this one got sent to me. These ones got sent to me from you. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So
the secret underground railroad.
So I don't know where you get these.
Yeah,
I don't know what truck they fell off of.
Smells like victory. Should we tell the story about this?
Yeah, let's talk about X-Men Elsewhen. Larry, why don't you tell your story?
All right, first I read this cool thing from Jeff Boucher. Do you know Jeff? He used to write for Variety, Hollywood Reporter. He told this great story yesterday about interviewing Harrison Ford. And Harrison Ford was like, hey, cut it out with a Lone Ranger and Tano stuff. You know, that just because there's 2 live mics doesn't mean that you have people are here for you, right? So I was like, Jeff, your small embarrassment with Harrison Ford is going to save me a lot of trouble in the future because I'm just going to keep my mouth shut and have you talk. But this one, I got to tell you where these came from. It's awesome. This artist, Steve Wilcox, has a Facebook group called Byrne Victims. And John Byrne is doing his version of what should have happened to Dark Phoenix from the 80s. He didn't like how Chris Claremont did it. Everybody checking in knows all about that. So this ancient lunatic is doing...
Well, wait a minute. Wait, let's pause. Let's pause for a second because maybe everybody doesn't know.
Okay.
So the decision to kill Jean Grey was editorially driven. That was Jim Shooter said, look, she just killed an entire star system or planet or whatever. She's a mass murderer. she can't be a hero anymore.
Right,
so
she
we
has
got to
to
kill
pay.
her. Right.
Uh-huh.
So that was, and Byrne didn't like that idea. He had more of a redemption story in mind. I think probably Claremont did too, but certainly Byrne did. And so this was his opportunity to say, look, nobody's going to pay me to do the X-Men I want, so I'm just going to do it.
Well, this is super funny too, because, you know, we used to get our info in the old days from Amazing Heroes and, you know, Comics Buyer's Guide and stuff like that. So when this was coming out, I seem to remember Byrne was like, I'm not down with this, but I'm a company man. Just make sure she stays dead and I'll be fine with it. So then he puts all his effort into it and then they just bring her back. So I think this is the source of his ire with the whole thing, because he started doing this for just to work his own demons out, I guess, at the twilight of his old age. What is he like? He's easily 90, 95 years old now. Right?
Mentally, if you go by his internet postings, maybe.
Yeah, you know, not everybody.
But he's got to be in his, I'm going to venture to say, in his 70s.
Yeah, I mean, his whole Star Trek photo play stuff is because he said he couldn't draw anymore. Well, that's not true, because this is cranking. And it's just like, if you, like us, where we grew up, we grew up in the 80s, like John Byrne and, you know, Walt Simonson and Howard Chaykin were like my standards of good comics, right? And so this is like reading John Byrne comics from the 80s. It really is. It's insane. He can still draw. But yeah, there's a whole, Jonathan Bayliss. Right on, man. 70. Wait, that makes me 57. Oh my God. Anyway, so Byrne has been doing this. He's been posted on. There's been all kinds of, he got mad that Steve Wilcox was posting the pages and he wanted people sent to his thing. There's this whole nightmare about it. And I was reading how this came to be. And I was honestly more interested in that. So some a guy on that forum, I'm only going to say his first name, Scott. And Scott collected all the JPEGs and made a PDF that was formatted for Lulu, you know, the print-on-demand place. Uh-huh. And he just posted it up. He's like, I did some work because I want these collected for myself. And, you know, I just want to be part of the community and give back to my fellow fans. So here's the PDF. And I went, oh my God, this is great. Because I hate reading comics online. I'm not going to read, you know, whatever this is. He must be up to like, he's got 20 issues of 22 pages each. So it's 400 plus pages, right? There's no way I'm going to read that on a computer.
Let me show you these back covers too. These are beautiful.
Yeah, this is all Scott. He designed an amazing thing. Anyway, so apparently, you know, a few hundred people sent in the same PDF to Lulu, and it trips some alarms. Because if you order a copy for yourself, or maybe 5 sets because your buddies don't want to deal with it, and you just collect the money from them, it was pretty, I forget what it was, but it was something really cheap. Like they're like $5 a piece, $5 or $6 a piece, just to get them printed. And so they went, oh my God, X-Men, and hundreds of people doing this. Has got to be copyright infringement. So I got a copy of 5. I got a copy for me, a copy for my friend Hector Gonzalez, Steve Euchrin, Mark Espinoza, and then I had another one. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but 5's a nice round number. So when we started talking about it, I'm like, excellent. Dan Shaheen needs a set.
Yeah,
so
I love it.
I figured it would just be fun to talk about how this came to be. But CB Cebulski at Marvel said he'd print it, and John Byrne's like, no way. It's not about the money. Like, screw you guys, I'm just doing this. And
tell me more about that. Tell me more about that, Larry.
This is the part I can't believe, honestly. This is the part I can't believe, because
me neither. Because I was saying, like, because John could almost do this on spec, didn't have to make any money, and we'll talk about in a second what you mentioned about the original art prices.
Oh, the numbers,
worth, right? But like, he could have. I was like, he could at any time just say, hey, look, Marvel, you want to publish this? And they'll be like, sure. But you told me no, that's not the case.
the way I understand the story, because you always get fanboys always get in trouble going, well, I heard from a dentist that said this, but some of this is Byrne himself on his own. What is it, Byrne Robotics? I don't know.
That's his forum, Byrne Robotics.
I got kicked out of there like 15 years ago because he didn't want pros. And I'm like, man, look, I'm the biggest fan ever. Look, here's the back of Man of Steel #3, page 5, where you drew Lois Lane. It's hanging in my office. He's like, whatever. See a pro. Like, all right, I don't know. Cranky old bastard. I'm still a fan, though. Sometimes when pros do that, I'm like, I'm never dealing with that guy again. But John Byrne, I love his art so much. Anyway.
There's a reason they call us Byrne victims, right? Like
exactly.
Everybody I ever know who's met the guy, I've never met him. Everybody has a story, something like that, of a cranky Byrne story.
I met him once in Boston with Chris Claremont about the time 137 came out. Got his autograph. They talked to him. Those guys were awesome. So, like in the old days, I have nothing to say. They were great. But yeah, now, you know, as a cranky old man myself, sometimes you just, you know, what are they going to do to you? So you say what you want. So I got a feeling Byrne just went one day, nobody's stopping me. And so he did it and he posted it up to see what would happen. And Cebulski's like, we'll publish this, but we got to have, you know, some creative input. And he just went, no, that's the whole point of this project, is that I'm going to do what I want. And something happened. I wasn't in the room, so I don't know. But Byrne is just like, nope, it's not about money. This is never happening, whatever. And so the people who really like his art, you know, the Scott fella, thank you, Scott, put it together, and it was great. The thing that I think is funny about the 5 sets that I got is that right at the end, Lulu kicked me off their thing, refunded my money, and said, you can't use Lulu anymore. And I'm like, all right.
Whoa.
I just wanted these. And guess what? My books had already shipped. So I got this free bunch of stuff I would have happily paid for, right? And they just refunded my money, and me and my buddies got to read this for free. So there you go, Lulu.
Yeah, people are telling me focus on the pages, Dan. And one thing that I do want to focus on.
His art is amazing.
What I love about it is you get an insight into his craft, in the sense that, and the cartoonist kayfabe guys talked about this when they reviewed this stuff. A lot of them, you see him gritting out perspective almost every panel, like something that you think of as, you know, maybe something that a guy who's fast like Byrne is known to be would just sort of freehand it and do it. No, he plans it meticulously every panel.
For me, once I saw these pencils and that you see his process, I'm a giant process junkie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I haven't even read this because I kind of don't care about the story. I look at every page for what he does. Like, I know a lot of like real artists like cap on him about his anatomy and stuff. And I'm like, no, the shortcuts he takes are just in service of comics as a art form. You know, I just like, this guy is just, he's brilliant. And like you said, the perspective grids, like this is just like, it's a masterclass for artists.
Well, and then also, not to mention, Byrne was known from way back in the 90s. He's like, oh, I can just pencil, I can ink, I can letter it myself too. So why wouldn't I just get paid that paycheck for all those things? Right. Of course I'm going to do that. And you can see here this looks like a paste up from maybe a Photoshop. In here, it's hard to tell on the camera, but it's got a distinctly different look than everything else.
Yeah, it's certainly darker than the rest of it. Yeah.
It might be a paste up or something. I don't know.
I love talking to like real Byrne fans, because then you get into like, who's the best anchor? It's not John. And
it's Terry Austin, right?
Well, I think it's Austin, but you know, some people have their faves. Like Joe Rubinstein, it's always good. I know Byrne kind of.
Byrne has Rubinstein, but to me, it's Austin. He puts a little something extra on those.
I agree 100%. I think that's not even a debate. Like most people, like who's your favorite inker after Terry Austin, right? Because that's what makes it pop.
Well, and let's look at this though, because Byrne's no slouch himself. He inks plenty, and he inks good.
Well, I love his inks
well.
And I love that Kirby crackle he does. He puts his own spin on that. that
he loved to use Zipatone and other tech.
Yeah.
He's a technical artist in the
he
extreme,
really is.
but
Yeah.
yet brings all the dynamism of Kirby with all the draftsmanship of, say, like a Neil Adams, and just like it's a without being he is influenced obviously by Kirby especially, but and probably Neil Adams, but he's his own thing. Like, you look at a John Byrne page, it's John Byrne. Even
early days, like his Doomsday +1, you weren't mistaking that for the Charlton book.
Yeah,
you weren't mistaking that for anybody else. That's about, let's see, that was 1975. So I was just seriously getting into comics and like understanding that it was a job you could have. And so I love those Charlton books for some reason. And John Byrne was the first guy whose name I knew and followed as an artist.
Yeah.
You could recognize
Charlton books. I think Charlton was as great as it was because the guys who owned it just did not care one little bit about comics in any way.
They let the guys do their thing.
Yeah, I mean, they were like a printing company. So they owned their own printing presses. So to them, they're just like, we need stuff to run on our printers when they're not running.
Right.
Because that's the nature of the printing business. Yeah. So like Steve Ditko's like, yes, let's do that. And then they had typewriter, typewritten lettering. They were the first to use mechanical lettering that way. Any major publishing house that I know for dialogue.
All your EC books was mechanical letters. But still, I get your point.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I didn't know that.
They might be hand lettered, but they were with a template. So it was either linotype that was printed out or a template that anybody could use. Look at an EC book, you're like, oh, dude, this is artificial. It's not hand lettered.
Well, the Charlton ones I loved because they would
right. It's just lettering.
Well, they credited it to a machine. Was the name of the letter on those books, which I loved.
Yeah, I love that they just published everything. They had hot rod books and romance books and superheroes and Mr. A. That Ditko thing is the weirdest shit ever. Oh,
I love it. I love that stuff.
Yeah, me too.
That was money, Larry. This book is money. I'm going to give this one 3 cha-chings because I am pleased as punch. And I, like you, I haven't finished reading them, but I don't need to read them.
Yeah.
Right? They are wonderful objects in and of themselves, but I will read them and I'll try to give them a more thorough review.
I don't know how he's getting away with this. I just don't. Because like, what's stopping me from doing a Star Trek movie, right? It's the same thing, but accordingly,
people do though, right? People do.
Yeah, they do. They do. Here's the story. Here's what his claim is that he's just doing original art and selling the pages, and he's posting each page as he goes as a courtesy to the people who are interested in the project. And so, I guess legally, there's no difference between a page of art that he's drawn with the X-Men on it and like a quick convention sketch of Wolverine smoking a cigar. Like legally, that's the same thing. If they're not worried about one, they shouldn't be worried about the other. But I did some back of the cocktail napkin math. And if it's 440 pages just for these 2 volumes, and he's selling a page for $2,500, that's $1.1 million just on the art. So
holy moly.
So, like, what does he care if Marvel sends him a check or not? Because he's getting the money from the original art. So,
agreed.
And
then there's still the chance that somebody's going to publish it. Like C.B. Cebulski won't be there forever at Marvel. If that's if that's the sticking point, somebody else comes in, and these are ready to go, and he'll double dip. But he sold the original art first.
I got a feeling if this gets published, it's going to be after he dies. I think they'll get somebody really good to ink it, and then that'll be the selling point that it's like John Byrne's last work that you care about, inked by this cool guy. Yeah. Like that's some inkers now are printing these JPEGs out at the whatever, it's the 11 by 17 size, whatever that is that they work on. It's a particular size that's page 1.5 times up from printed. It's been so long, I forget. I used to know exactly what it was. But they're printed out on 10% blue, so it's non-repro blue, and ink on that. And it looks like a real piece of production used original art, which I think is just crazy because it's something free you got, but you had to pay, Joe Rubenstein like $100 or whatever the going concern is. Somebody will ink that for you and make it look real. I just think that's amazing. I don't know why Marvel's letting them get away with that. Like all the money's going right into his pockets.
What do you think of the there's also, he could triple dip, right, with the NFT. He could do he could sell the digital. What do you think about that?
You're absolutely right. Like he could draw some page that's not included in it and go, this is my NFT for this for the Elsewhen project. No one else is going to have it except you. I mean, if he understood the tech, he would get, somebody like, there are a lot of guys in comics that collect Byrne stuff. Like I know Rob Liefeld, I have a page, I have my Man of Steel #3 page with Batman on it that talking about when you die. I told Mimi and Walker, when I die, just sell this and I'll take care of everything. But there are guys like Rob Liefeld who have hundreds of pages of John Byrne stuff. And so somebody will get into that NFT thing and it will be,
I got a page of my own.
Tens of millions of dollars. Oh yeah, what do you have?
I got one John Byrne page. Ironically, it's a book somewhat similar to this in that it's a non-canon John Byrne. Like I want to do it my way. Did you ever read Superman, Batman Generations?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Where they sort of aged in real time over, and
that was a great project.
To that.
I love
that was a hit. I bought a page from that that has. I could probably find it, but it's got Mixelplick in it and Batmite in it.
Oh my god, that's great!
And a couple other things. It was pretty cheap.
Oh, that's a page to have from that project, though.
I predict for NFTs. I'm going to make a bold prediction right now. Okay, so you just put your finger on something that the publishers get nothing out of the original art sales from their artists, right? That's always been their plum. Right, to be able to sell. But now you could have the best of both worlds. You could have the original, and then they could mint NFTs of each like finished page with lettering and everything, and sell like one of those as an original. This is the only digital file available of that page, and charge whatever someone's willing to pay.
Yeah, you're right. I just don't know. I don't see why you would do that now. It's like somebody has the one digital file. Okay, it's in the chain. All right,
I want to see if I can find that page. Somebody's telling me to find that page. I can't dig through my stuff right now, but I do want to show one because I'm still waiting for this, guys. I promised Brian Hitch, and he's been not feeling well too. What is it with famous comic artists calling in sick on me? I don't know, but I got this page. This is page 1, issue 1 of the Batman's Grave.
Wow. Talk about awesome, king of perspective. That top establishing shot that's just right on.
Dude, and he researches everything so well that let me do this again. He puts the work in, and there's the Batman's Grave, literally Thomas and Martha and Batman's Grave here. This was the best Batman book of the year that nobody really read that I know of. It was fantastic. I can't wait to have Brian in here and talk to him because he's doing some of the best work of his career.
Yeah, that guy knows what he's doing, huh?
Okay. All right, Larry. Wait a minute. So okay, back to the Batcave. We talked about NFTs. Let's talk about one more thing, and we'll get out of here. One more thing that's in the news right now. Let me see if we can talk about this. Do you know who Jordan Peterson is? You know this story?
No, I don't know the story.
Oh, you don't know this story? Okay.
There's a story for Jordan Peterson.
There is, and the Red Skull. So Ta-Nehisi Coates just wrote into a recent issue of Captain America a scene where like Red Skull is coming and like sort of like dispassionately appealing to the young men of America and the world to sort of take personal responsibility, basically quoting things from Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. And maybe trying to draw some kind of analogy of like that his intentions are villainous. And then there were a lot of memes out there because like literally some of his rules for life are like clean your room,
right?
Don't lie, be a good person, things like that. So there's been a lot of like cognitive dissonance out there. Any thoughts on that, Larry?
Well, not really. Because human history has shown that like even the most banal thing like clean your room or honor your parents gets subverted by somebody. So I haven't read that piece, but it's not like Coates doesn't know what he's doing, right? I'm sure he's trying to make a point in the project. Because,
because Jordan Peterson is a really interesting guy to me. Like the message is that not just the message that he's sending in his book, which seems rather innocuous, banal, and obvious. Some of these things, like be a good person, clean your room, like don't lie. Yeah. But there is an underline. So when he's gone on interview shows, he's been like sort of grilled from this, like, what's your angle, dude? Why are you trying to say this stuff? And to me, it really breaks down to one of his fundamental things is about hierarchies and how hierarchies are built into us, not just into higher level mammals, but like all the way down to lobsters. That was his argument. He talks about lobsters and how there's a hierarchy of lobsters. Okay.
Huh.
And so then to me, what it is like that is an argument in favor of hierarchies, which is in favor of sort of maybe patriarchy and
sure
hierarchical systems, right? That are in place now.
Right.
And so like by him sort of reinforcing that like hierarchies are normal and are not just normal, but supernatural and just baked into us from the deepest level, that like attempts to flatten hierarchies or eliminate hierarchies maybe are destined to fail and be impossible.
Because they're so baked into the human condition? Is that
because it's so hardwired into like our lizard brains.
Steve Ukren says that Jordan's a clinical psychologist.
Yes, he is.
That kind of changes my answer a little because he's got something else going on. If he's going clean your room as one of the commandments, he's trying to make another point there. Don't you feel? I mean, I don't know what that point is exactly, but I feel like there's a subtext. When I do stuff like that in my work, it's to, like you said, it's to prove another point. But if you're saying something that's controversial, if you start off with like, I like chocolate chip cookies, like that gets everybody. Who doesn't like chocolate chip cookies? But then you like end up making a point about the patriarchy or racism or something. And and people will go, oh, well, that made me consider it. So now I want cookies and like racism is bad, right? So, or good, like whatever Hitler had a good idea, like whatever point you're trying to make. You know what I mean? I'm not sure. I really am not. I'm saying I'm suspicious of people who say things that seem completely agreeable. Because why would you say that? Right? Clean your room? Obvious. Okay. And so, like it's in service of some other, like you have to agree with this, right? We all have to agree you should do this. So if you agree with me here, you can agree with me there and to the next level. And now let's and before you know it, like Trump is president, right? That was one for the EVS guys. Well, his other thing was originally, one of the big things was he didn't want to be compelled to use gender neutral pronouns. Like he was like, I don't have a problem with doing that as a rule of politeness, but in Toronto and Canada where they're at, they were trying to pass some laws that there would be, it's like a hate crime to misgender someone and say the wrong one, and he was very opposed to those sort of things. And I don't
Yeah.
Not in that particularly, but I think it's really hard to legislate behavior, right? I mean, people are gonna something like that. What are you getting out of throwing somebody in jail because they didn't say they when they were supposed to?
Right.
I just read this great thing about Hank Azaria and Apu, and how he's like going and personally apologizing to people every time it comes up. And he came up with this great thing about like, of course I have white privilege, but I hate that that's the name of it. And he came up with relative advantage. And I was like, oh my God, because that's what it is. Like everybody bristles when you hear white privilege because there's a racial component. And it's true, right? But like, why are you trying to make a point when everybody instantly hits that and goes, well, there's a race thing. But the second you go relative advantage, it's like, wow, that's great because it works for everything at all times because all things are not equal for everyone, right? So no matter what you're talking about, relative advantage is a great way to put that. So
I think that's a better way of putting it for sure.
Well, but I'm just contrasting Hank Azaria, who's honestly he's not like, oh, I'm not woke enough. He's honestly trying to learn something and interact with people and grow as a person, right? And it's like, how do you not clap for that? I don't get that from Peterson, that he's trying to, figure something out for himself and take his friend, like-minded people along. I think he's the Red Skull. Yes.
Well, I don't know.
Anyway, you and me aren't going to solve it, right?
No, we're definitely not.
Yeah.
But I like talking about it. I think it's fun, kind of interesting. See, there's some topics
that
super
people don't
really like to talk about.
Yeah, super valuable to talk about. And but I mean, bringing it back to comics, right? That's what I love about the stuff that Fantagraphics is doing because and Pitzer's Adhouse. I mean, those aren't conversations you're usually going to have, right?
I want to bring it back to Apu actually for 1 second because I don't know. I'm not Indian, so I can't say. I guess I can't claim that it matters if I'm offended by that character. I'm Middle Eastern though. I have my family runs liquor stores, right, or has like plenty of them, but Apu, the character himself, was always like sure he gouged people at the Quickie Mart. That was the joke, right? That he's gouging them. But like at the same time, he was like a tax-paying small business owner, well-educated. He had like advanced degrees in engineering from Calcutta Tech.
Well, that's what I find so valuable about this conversation, right? Because it is so nuanced and layered, right? It's not he's not a caricature, but the problem is some people see it that way, right? Like,
I think he is a character. I mean, I think he is a caricature.
But
everyone on The Simpsons is a character.
I was going to say, in the context of the show, he's not, because unless you think everyone is, and then so what's your problem? Everybody's been done the same way. But what I find super valuable about this is that it's been going on for over 30 years. And the Azaria got the gig. This was in the article I just read, because Apu had one line. And they said, can you do an Indian accent? He goes, I never tried. How about this? And then he said the line, and then he just accidentally, well, you're the guy who does this character now.
Right.
And so 30 years ago, that was super innocent, right? That's a show that can't. They hired the guys they did so they could do multiple voices, right? You can't hire a different actor for every voice. Back then. Like, of course, now they can. And so they are. So I just want to take Hank Azaria and go, man, don't beat yourself up about it. You're doing the right thing. Like, it's pointed out to you that they did a whole documentary, like, what's the problem with Apu? And like spent half the movie shitting on him personally, right? And so instead of getting mad, he went, oh my God, I have to educate myself. And so I'd give him a hug. I don't hug people, but I give
he didn't go off on a tour of that he was canceled and that you need to crowdfund his new project and get Ben Shapiro producing new movies for him or whatever.
He addresses that. He's like, he was going through Alcoholics Anonymous, and he's like, in the old days, it wouldn't have taken much wine at all for me to like send some Twitter thing that's defensive and why are you coming after me? Why? But instead of it, he's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to deal with my feelings and figure it out. And it's been 3 years, and all he's been doing, he's not on TV, he's not on the talk show circuit. All he's been doing, He's trying to figure it out for himself. And so that's why I read this. I was like, somebody who's trying to figure something out for 3 years has got something to say more than somebody just going, oh, well, I was offended by that and you need to pay. You know what I mean? So
I agree.
I don't know.
Speaking of being offended and speaking of being offended and having to pay, Larry, now it's time for the Q&A section.
I'm ready. Here,
so,
let me get some water.
Starting now. We've lost a lot of comments. There's no super chats to go back and read. But if you got questions for me or Larry, now's your moment. You can ask them, and we'll answer them. We'll ask you anything. So let her rip, folks. And otherwise, we're going to get out of here. I want to just take a moment to say, hey, if you want to see your comics reviewed on the Million Dollar Mailbox, there's one place to send them, and it's right here.
Who's in the Million Dollar Mailbox? One guess who? Who'd never ever start an argument? Who'd never show a bit of temperament? Who's never wrong but always right? Who'd never dream of starting a fight? Who's on your screen with the comic book scene? No one but Dan Shaheen.
Well, they're not giving us money. We don't want any money. They don't have to be super chats. Just ask a question. And I'll answer. I don't need any super chats. So, all right, if you guys got no questions, that's cool.
I live on the beach in San Francisco, so I don't need money.
When will you have Sketch Therapy as a guest? I've been on a show with this guy, Sketch Therapy. He was on a stream once. I was on. He was talking. He really doesn't like me. That's okay. He's not the only one. There's plenty of guys like that.
You should get me and Gail Simone on a show together. That would be hilarious.
Have a good day. Please do send us the email. Oh, Nerdette's Newsstand says goodbye. Oh, no, Heroinberg says goodbye to Nerdette. We're going to see Heroinberg next week. That's going to be exciting.
I was just going to bring them up when you said the Heroinberg guys from Pittsburgh. I'm like, I will watch that. Those guys are awesome. I'm totally behind what they're doing. It's not. And
yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
What is an asterisk? How good is the gas mileage of the Batmobile?
I think it's
I'll take this one if you
right?
want.
Yeah, sure.
The Batmobile does not run on gas. It's nuclear powered. That's what that big nuclear thing is in the background. Link it for
batteries
future.
To power, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Atomic batteries to power, turbines to speed. Exactly.
Roger, ready to roll out. When will you have Sketch Therapy as a guest? I'll have almost anybody as a guest. If he's got comics, I'll definitely have him in here. We can talk about his comics anytime. Okay. Oh, Larry, you were here for this moment. This was a moment in Comicsgate history, I guess. I don't know.
We're on a mission from God.
Let's drop back into the mailbox for a second, and because I don't think I defaced it. I don't think this is defacing. This is a sketch cover, and I drew a sketch, and I almost misspelled watching. That was very embarrassing. It's hard to write when you're looking at a screen. So sorry, guys.
My thinking on that is it defacing if Ethan autographs it? Right? I mean, I don't think that's exactly what that's for people to draw on. So I don't think you would have, as a former clerk at 3 Eisner Award-winning comic stores, I can tell you for a fact that somebody who wants that book doesn't care about something that's drawn on it inside. If it's obviously me, like signing John Byrne's autograph across X-Men 137, that's a problem.
Fair enough.
But but otherwise, you didn't deface anything. I'll fight that guy who says you defaced it.
Second question. Have you ever heard of the comic Black Tiger, Legacy of Fury by the talented John Hervey and Rod Looper? No, but good job getting a plug in for them.
Yeah.
If you want to see me review their comics, hey, they don't have to send them in. You can send them to me. Mail your comics to the Million Dollar Mailbox. I'll review anything you send me.
Yeah.
Sketch when? Well, remember I was on that EVS stream. I was on either the John Malin stream or Ethan's stream for a minute, and then because he pinged me out of nowhere, and I had to leave because I had to make dinner for my kids.
I think he's asking you when can I come on the show.
Oh, when? No, I don't know. When was this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sketch therapy.
Couldn't come out with a good DK or fart joke, so I'm out. Dan, do you get a discount on your PG&E bill since the Batcave is subterranean? Again, atomic batteries to power. There is a generator back there. If you're a fan of the 66 series, you remember that episode where someone tragically fell into the reactor.
Yeah, I was trying to think who that was. It's a girl.
It was like Marcia, Queen of Diamond. No, it wasn't. It was like a lackey of maybe Marcia's lackey or something.
I don't remember. You know, oh my God. If my friend Chuck Gilbert was here, he'd tell us exactly. He would tell you the timestamp of the episode.
Where have the Mavericks gone, and why do we love Rebels so much? I don't know. Who's the Maverick? Who's the Maverick out there right now?
I know, Maverick in comics?
Yeah.
You.
Please. Please, I'm a broken down donkey. All right. It was just another Tuesday to sketch. Right. Yeah. Okay. It was on John Malin show. You did the whole interview with clenched teeth. I have like a jaw, I have like a tension jaw thing. So sometimes I do clench my teeth. I literally like had to go. Plus
your crazy face furniture. It really makes you look grim sometimes. Look. Yeah. I'm not mad. I'm moving my lip down and all of a sudden, you know, it's easy for people to go, "Argh."
Gives me a Bluto look, I think. That's what I always thought makes me look mean. Maybe I'll take this off and go I'll go Jeffrey Tambor for the.
You always strike me as like an extra in Hill Street Blues or something. Somebody who's like the old cop show, the Stephen Bosco.
Yeah, I love that show. Love it.
Yeah. If you had a toothpick, chewing the toothpick and telling some perk that he was going to Walpole, I'd be like, oh man.
Okay, let's see. Oh, we got a $10 super chat here. Oh, that's awesome. Gabriel Jimenez. Oh, he's been commenting a lot lately. Thank you, Gabriel. I appreciate it, man. I'm going to take that money. I'm going to spend it on comics.
Excellent. Comics to talk about.
Okay, it's not on the Facebook. These are kind of chats talking to each other. So I'm going to kind of scroll through here and see if we got anything.
Jonathan Bayless I can't read my Facebook and talk to you and concentrate at the same time. But Jonathan Bayless is a great cartoonist. So Buttons is the book that he has. It's really good. Based in New York City. And he just said on my Facebook, I saw real fast that the chat is like super weird with the EVS guys. So I can't wait to read that because you and me are talking about comics and they're off on something else.
I know that I was glancing at it and it's actually there's some interesting points being made in there.
I love people who are passionate about what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't have to agree with everybody.
Plenty of dumb ones too being made in there, but there's plenty of dumb ones being made in here all the time.
I love the last one where they're like, I don't know who this guy is, but he has epic beard, and I'm like, hey man, that's all I need to know. You are have good taste if you think my beard.
Larry, you don't have a beard till you get harassed in airport security. I might have used that joke already on you.
Oh man, the first flight I flew after 2001 was to a con at Wizard World Con in Philadelphia, and True Facts had just come out. And so I was just flying there real quick. I was going to crash on the floor of Pittsburgh retailer Pat Donnelly. You might know him, Time Tunnel guy.
I've heard of that store.
Yeah. He was crashing on his floor, was just going in and out. All I had was like socks and underwear and 40 copies of True Facts in a bag. And I'm kind of a nervous flyer anyway. I can do it with Mimi and my kid, but by myself, I'm just like, I want it to be over. So a guy with a beard with no luggage, just kind of going, oh my God, what's going on with the plane? I was like, I can't believe they didn't strip search me. But they pulled me out of the security and they're like, all right, what's your deal? And so I explained it to him. And then I pulled my bag open. There's 40 copies of a book with my face on the cover. I'm like, if I'm a terrorist, this is pretty elaborate print. Don't you think? And so when they saw that, they're like, all right, just go have some whiskey or something and calm down because you're freaking everybody out.
Unless the plane was going to blow up and disseminate your propaganda leaflets all over.
Either way, that'd be fun.
Are you answering questions?
Yes.
No, we're not.
Well, that's an answer.
No, we are. Yeah, we are. How do you think the comics community comes together? For example, if a kid asks you, how can we set aside our differences and just focus on the love of comics? What would your answer be? I got an answer. Larry, you got an answer for that one?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, comics is what we would talk about. Like, if, I bring this up all the time. I hate eggplant parmesan. I think it's the devil's poop. I will never eat that. And many people love it. It's a staple in Italian restaurants. But I'm not going to talk about that if you love Transformers, and they have a great Transformers book out of IDW. I'll be like, tell me what you love about it, and I'll tell you what I love about it. And then all of a sudden, eggplant parmesan doesn't matter anymore. So
yes.
I think people not coming together is the artificial part, not because we automatically have stuff that we love. So talk about comics.
I think I agree. I think the key, what you're saying, is have an open conversation and focus on the things you have in common, maybe than the things that you don't have in common. And then like good things might come from there. Okay. Let's see what else we got.
We solved world peace. That's great.
I know. What next? Billy Baxo, $2. Say hi, Comicsgate. Hi,
Comicsgate.
Okay. Gaddafi was suggesting a centralized banking system based off Africa's own natural resources. That idea is theorized to lead to his death.
Yeah, if you're not bringing up vibranium and Gaddafi, I have nothing to say.
Yeah, we talked about what Kandahar, or what is the
right? I don't know, but that's clearly what happened to him.
Okay, I don't care about talent, only treat customers. And blah blah blah. More SJW talk. I'm gonna skip that stuff. Larry, why are you discriminating?
I just love how can you discriminate against what? Eggplant parmesan? I got really sick one time.
Yeah, beards. And
beards make security guys nervous for some reason. I don't know.
Well, try having this nose and this skin tone and this last name and this beard, Larry.
I'm not far behind you, man.
Okay, let's see. More from Sketch Therapy. They're talking in there. I'm sorry, Sketch. If you got a question for us, I'll show it, but otherwise I'm going to skip it.
The customer one was very interesting. I don't care about talent. It's like, well, this stuff doesn't come out of nowhere, right? I mean, doesn't it start with talent, or the love of the book, right? The output of the talent.
Okay, here's my favorite question so far. Do you think comics shoehorning politics into the story is the impediment to us coming together? I'm going to say no.
No, not at all. I've never had an argument with a fellow comics fan about their politics. Like, you could talk about the politics of the story, and you could agree or disagree with the politics of the story, but I kind of don't care. I'm talking about comics, right? Like, Howard Chaykin is great for this. I love Chaykin. I've loved him from way back. And just because, I don't know, I have an affinity for the whole angry young man thing, and it doesn't go away when you get older. If you're an angry young man, that's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And he did the United States of Hysteria, and people freaked the fuck out at him, and I didn't understand that at all. And we have conversations every once in a while. I bring up, like, if I was running the world, there would be a statue to Howard Chaykin in the White House, and he's like, no, everyone hates me, and I'm like, I don't see it, but I can't have that argument with him because nobody tells me they hate Howard Chaykin. They tell him. Right? And what do they hate him about? His comics work? Are you mental? I don't see how politics in a comic or a movie or a TV show is something you have against a fellow fan of that work.
I'm going to go the opposite. Like, my favorite works of comics or any literature have a point to make, political or otherwise.
Point of view, sure, yeah.
Political comic, my all-time favorite, like politically charged theme comic with a real message would be V for Vendetta. It's one of the best graphic novels I've ever read, and I want to say one of the best of all time. And it had a really important message that kind of got mistranslated and misunderstood in the movie adaptation. They sort of tried to make it like they missed the key point that it was really not about like democracy versus fascism. It was about anarchy, right? Versus other forms. Like, it truly was about anarchy as a political system, and it had a very important political point to make. Now, whether you agree with it or not, whether you think it's realistic or not, or whatever, is one thing. But dude, it's a great book with a killer point to make.
My favorite is you're not big on manga, are you? Because I'm not either.
A little bit.
Do you know the I don't know who does this, but there was a book called Eagle. It was 22 volumes.
Yeah.
That is basically West Wing in a manga form. And I read every page.
Oh, he was the president. Was he the president?
He became the president, yeah. But it followed this guy's entire political career. And I could see where people would get mad at choices he made and stuff, but it's fiction, right? I just don't get why people get mad at other fans about a work of fiction that they both experience. I don't. I'm with you. Is it a good story? Then that's great. I don't care if it's, I don't know.
Dan is trying to bridge the gap between Noah Van Sciver and Ethan Van Sciver fans succeeding. I don't know that I'm succeeding, but I'm a fan of all kinds of comics. I'm not a huge EVS fan, like in the sense that I have not read a lot of his comics, to be honest. So I can't claim to be a fan. But I think he's doing interesting work, and I think his crowdfunding efforts and other things are worth talking about. So that's why I'm willing to talk to him.
The great thing about your show, pal, is I didn't know anything about this guy. I knew the Comicsgate thing and I knew EVS, but I didn't know what it stood for. And so I told a couple of my buddies, everybody filled me in, gave me some stuff to read. And I still don't have an opinion on it because it's just not my scene. But I get that it's a scene now, right? And I don't get why why folks seem so like angry.
I can't see choosing a comic or not a comic based on somebody's political opinion. I'd be like, wow, this is a wonderful thing. I'm going to read.
Right, exactly. Is it a good comic? That's cool.
I'm sorry, Larry. I'm not familiar with it. I didn't do enough of this. We don't really blow your horn enough, Larry.
That's all right.
So Larry is the founder, editor, publisher, original writer, and just all around dude at AIT Planet Lair. He published some of the earliest works of some people that are really popular in the comics industry these days. Why don't you tell us a couple of those names, Larry?
So I'm most known for Astronauts in Trouble and Black Diamond. They're graphic novels. But the thing that I love most, just personally, such an ego boo, is Rich Johnson of Lying in the Gutters fame, whatever he's calling his thing now, said that Bleeding Cool. I transformed graphic novels and comic books in the 21st century. Because my company was the big proponent of original graphic novels and collecting stuff right away. And it was just an economic thing. My wife and me and a couple of buddies were doing it in our house. And so if everybody says, yeah, I can't wait to read your 5 floppies, because I know you're going to collect it in a trade paperback because you own it. I'm like, well, why am I doing all this work? I have to do 5 press releases and 5 covers and 5 colors. Why don't I just do one and you can buy the trade paperback and get it out? And so that opened up our company to a lot of big deal people. Like Astronauts in Trouble put Charlie Adlard on the map, and God bless Robert Kirkman for going, yeah, I want that guy to do Walking Dead because that made our stuff seem really cool. This was the stuff that brought Charlie to Kirkman's attention, so that's a press release I'll write all day long. But we published Matt Fraction's first work, Adam Beecham's first collected work, Smoke and Guns by Fabio Moon and Gabriel Ba, the guys who work on Umbrella Academy now. Basically, you published Warren Ellis, right? Didn't you do Switchblade Honey? Was that you? We did 3 Warren Ellis books. We collected his Come In Alone. We did Switchblade Honey. And the photo book that he did, Available Light. Like now everybody's got a camera on their phone, but like back then, camera was an attachment that you plugged into your handspring. And he was taking these really blurry 72 DPI pictures and posting on his forum a little story. And I'm like, dude, don't do another one of those. Just take a picture and write 300-500 words off every one. We'll collect it. You have a hardcover book. It's super nice. I'm really proud of that book. That was cool. But Switchblade Honey? You're a Star Trek fan, and that was like a killer take on Star Trek, right? Where essentially like the Federation was kind of the bad guys. Yeah, I love Switchblade Honey. And Warren sent me an email one day that was just Dirty Dozen in space. And I just wrote back, yes. That's how it happened. We were Brendan McKinney, the artist. He's actually a director on the Harley Quinn stuff now. So like
Oh.
everybody that we published in the old days is a big shot now, and which is really gratifying. Like talk about commercial instincts. Like I could just look at something and go, yes, I can do something with that. No, that's not our thing.
Brian Wood, weren't you?
Brian Wood, yeah. We did. Well, we didn't publish him first. Channel Zero came out from Image in a print run of 1,000, and I worked at Comics Experience as the Minister of Propaganda for Hibbs back then, and I was really good friends with Rory Root, and I talked to the both of them, and between Hibbs' store and Comic, yeah, exactly. Man, I miss that guy. Anyway, Comic Relief and Comics Experience together, just two shops within 20 miles of each other, sold a quarter of that print run of 1,000 books. Yeah. So I'm like, if I know the two guys that sold 25% of an Image print run, I'm like, when they sold them all, they just didn't want anything to do with Brian. He's kind of a, he's a creative. Talents, everybody's got their things. But I'm like, dude, I'll keep that book in print forever. I love it. It's kind of like if Max Headroom had more balls. I love that book. And we ended up doing 4 or 5 printings. And So awesome. Brian and Becky Cloonan, this is a big shot now. She did the Punisher for some reason. I thought that was crazy.
Yeah.
She did. We did a couple books with her. I'm trying to think. All the Skype guys. So we used to publish back in the old days.
Okay. And, Mr. Von Stugel says, sure, skip my report. I must have missed it. Sorry, dude. I'm not skipping questions on purpose, but there's a lot of chatter going on, and I'm trying to skip.
That Larry Young dude won't shut up. You missed my question.
Larry, how much talent do you need to cover for a lack of integrity? This is a perfect question for you, I think. This is suited for the way Polanski is still an awesome director, right? Can you separate the art from the artist?
Yeah, absolutely.
In situations like this?
Yes, absolutely. I'm not sure how much talent covers the lack of integrity, because at the end of the day, you might get people to go along with you, but if you don't have integrity, you're not going to last long doing anything, right? But to separate art from artists is the easiest thing in the world for me, because, I'm talent.
Just look at the art, right?
I know that there's a story I came up with, and then there's the guy who makes lunch for his 12-year-old, right? And I mean, I have no problem separating art from artists.
I'm sorry, Manhattan is still a great movie.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. I don't dig on Woody Allen.
You don't?
Nah. Yeah, I mean, it's a thing.
All right, you can't come together while the creators are telling fans. I'm not sure who you're talking about, SG. Because, I've had a lot of people come in here, a lot of professionals, publishers, artists, everything. And I've never had anyone say anything like that.
Who says don't buy your stuff? I don't get that. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's the opposite. Like, buy what you read and enjoy, right? Like I got that from Hibbs, who was always like, don't be a speculator. Don't buy stuff because you think it's going to be worth something later. Buy something that at the very base you are going to read and you're going to enjoy. And then you don't care if it is something worth something later or not.
Okay, so here's sketch therapy. Sketch therapy is a big shot in comics. Obviously. Obviously, because he's like a quarter of 1,000 is 250. I'm not impressed.
No, you misunderstood.
Celebrate.
No, you misunderstood me, man. Brian Wood's book Channel Zero was an Image book that had a print run of 1,000. So this is back in the day, and the story is that I knew 2 Bay Area stores that sold a quarter of the print run. So it's the opposite of celebrating mediocrity, and why we never really talked about print runs when I was a publisher, because print run doesn't matter. You're not celebrating mediocrity if you sell 250 books. You sold 250 books. So I used to tell people, I used to tell people the $13 that you use to buy Astronauts in Trouble, that I'll tell you the first print run was 3,500, and it sold out, and we did another pressing. So, and it was that's a perfect thing. Like 3,500 doesn't sound very, very very much, but 25 years later, it's still in print. It was in the world's best, science fiction. All right, 3,500 copies. Who cares? You probably know half the people about them. Yes, but that has nothing to do with if it's mediocre or amazing or not. So that's you just kind of sketched there. You kind of misunderstood what was going on there.
One thing we celebrate here, Sketch, is good spellers too. We celebrate them rather.
I would never take a shot at somebody like that because we understood what he was saying, and he was
of course,
he was wrong.
I'm just giving grief. If people want to throw grief, I'm allowed to throw grief too.
Yeah.
Harrenberg, creators like Gail Simone and Kelly Sue DeConnick are telling large groups of people don't buy my comics. I don't know if you're talking about your comics in particular, Harrenberg, or not, but that seems odd to me. I don't see anything offensive about your comics. So.
You know, I don't know. Kelly Sue's Matt's wife, and she's always been cool to me, and Gail Simone's a retard. So I don't know. I don't know what that says. Well, I don't know why they would say don't buy my comics, but they obviously mean something by that.
You just made a huge following of Comic Gate fans, Larry, with that last comment. Yes, and that's why the comic industry is dead, because we have weak men and weirdos creating the crap.
Yeah.
We've always had weak men and weirdos creating
crap. Like, how is it different now?
Thank you for answering, by the way. I'm just trying really hard to find stuff that makes sense. They're focusing on Sketch to make us look bad. Shaheen is sneaky. I am sneaky. There's no doubt about it. I'm sneaky. No, I'm not focusing on Sketch. He's asking questions. I'm answering everybody's questions.
Ask a question and we'll answer them.
Why are my motives
say that all the time. You know where I live, out on the beach, right? They closed Upper Great Highway during the thing, and so people are like, "Why are you always crying about that?" And I'm like, "Well, talk about something else, man. I'm going to be crying about the highway closed in front of my house."
Okay. Oh, more from Sketch. Yeah. I told him Shaheen wasn't worth his time. He's talking about Ethan. He's better off streaming with Eric Weathers and Art T-Bird. Yeah, he is better off talking to people who will not disagree with him in any way and who won't challenge or talk about interesting things. They'll just
everybody does press for different reasons, you know.
Okay.
That's it. I would never stop talking to Dan Shaheen if I was trying to move a comic book. Like,
Jasper, ask your question again. I'll answer it. Okay. I admit there's so many, like, there's these long comments that are like talking about socio-political things with each other in the threads. I'm willing to answer it.
I don't even care if you're polite. Just ask your question.
This makes sense to me. I actually thought Sketch was pretty funny on the call that I was on. I thought he was a pretty funny dude. He has kind of a funny voice that I like. I thought he was funny.
I love you have this whole like subset of people that like don't want to talk about comics, but they want to talk about why you don't like Ethan.
Well, these are the Ethan fans that showed up. To be fair, we were supposed to be talking right now with Ethan. I'm sure we'd be having a wonderful time talking about all kinds of great stuff right now.
Well, so Alfred's got a pretty good point here about they're talking about can you put that back up so I can read it?
Yeah.
It's you're not good enough for my book about. I assume this is Gail and Kelly Sue saying, "Don't read my book because you're not good enough for it." So that's a choice that the talent is making to market their book. So it kind of doesn't have anything to do with you personally, or even probably the Comicsgate movement. They're trying to sell. There's a thing in stores where it's a lot easier to sell a copy of a book to a store that's buying 5 already than it is to sell one copy to a store that's not buying any. So what they're marketing is that they're trying to increase the people who like their stuff, and they've just kissed off the Comicsgate guys. So they can say whatever they want. Like, obviously, Gail Simone is not a retard, right? But I've kissed off all because of personal interactions I've had with her. I've kissed off her and anything she says and anybody who likes her. So sometimes people just say stuff as a marketing thing that people in the audience take personally, you know? So I don't think they're saying don't buy their book, or that you're not good enough for their book, even though that they might literally be saying that, but that's not what they mean. They're not talking to you. They're talking to people who are on their side already. And it sounds like Comicsgate's guys aren't on their side. I don't know.
Okay. I like this point by Billy Baxo. Van Gogh was a freak who cut off his ear and sent it to a hooker he fell in love with. There's nothing romantic about it, like they say in art history. Dude was a freak. Separate art from the artist, or art from his ears.
Yeah, it sounds like Van Gogh separated his ear from the artist, right?
Okay.
Yeah, there's a funny thing when people get like this is they'll say something like very granular to extrapolate a larger point, and stuff just doesn't work that way. You make your big point and then find an example.
Okay. Comic book news attention. Why doesn't Ed's YouTube audience come and watch interviews, but Ethan's does? That's a good question. My YouTube analytics tell me exactly what channels the people who watch my channel watch the most. Okay. The number one channel is Cartoonist Kayfabe, but not far below that, Comic Artist Pro Secrets, Comics with your boy Zach, Comic Tropes, who else? A couple of other guys, Comics by Perch, and one other, Thinking Critical, a guy who I had on my show. I invited him into my Whisper network. Actually, a long time ago, but he never really did anything there.
Who's the Ed's YouTube audience? Who's that?
Oh, Ed Piscor, friend of the show, cartoonist Ed Piscor, Hip Hop Family Tree, X-Men Grand Design, Fantagraphics Red Room.
So you love his stuff, right?
Big fan. He's been on the show. He's
been
on the show.
No, Well, so that's the reason why his audience doesn't go there, because they already love his stuff, and you're telling them his stuff is great, and they know that, so they go do something else with their time. I think
they're just less interested in the live streaming thing. Like I think they watch the recorded ones.
Vance Skyver's audience, I imagine, is like waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? So they're like, here's some cool, somebody's going to say something, and I'm going to be right there, and we'll talk about what we want to talk about. So it's like the pretty girl doesn't get invited to the prom because everybody assumes she's going already. And so it's all the other people that get into the
right. True.
So I'm sure Comicsgate will take that they are not the pretty girl at the prom, and I'm just gonna stand by that. You guys are not pretty girls.
Even the Comicsgaters got a tune-out sketch. I'll tell you one thing that's interesting. I was having trouble with on one of my live streams, okay, and I was getting so many crazy comments. I was just like was going bananas because I didn't know what to do. And somebody, a very big Comicsgater person, who I will not name, but as big as they're gonna get, emailed me. Is like, Dan, don't tell anybody I said this. Don't tell me I said this, but like, just block those fuckers. Just block them. There are so many people, even in his own group, that he's just like, you are so annoying, I have to block you.
Yeah.
Okay. SG says, Strange Brain Purchase did a very insightful analysis on Rick Veitch's Brat Pack. Any chance you may interview him this year? I have never reached out to Rick Veitch to interview yet. I've wanted to, but Cartoonist Kayfabe did such a great interview with him. But I did reach out to him recently. And this is the first time I'm going to show this. I think I got to show this for a second, Larry. I'm sorry. Let me just show this for a second.
Veitch is awesome. He's from Vermont,
sorry.
my old stomping grounds.
Oh, he's the greatest.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. A look at...
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I didn't want to do that. That's not what I meant to show. That's not what I meant to show either. What I meant to show was... this.
Oh yeah, Mother Box.
What is Mother Box, you ask? Oh man, I can't really tell you. It's the all new direction that this channel is going to be going in pretty soon.
Did you reach out to Veitch about that?
Veitch, I licensed that Mother Box design.
Oh, that's his art?
From Rick Veitch.
Oh, nice.
Rick Veitch drew that design as a tattoo.
Oh, that's awesome.
For someone. Let's look at it again.
That's great.
The little Mother Box itself is a Veitch, and he licensed it to me, and we're going to be using it on my all-new Mother Box show coming up soon. You know, Larry, I own a trademark. I own the only U.S. trademark on the word Mother Box.
Oh, that'll be hilarious when DC gets a hold of that.
Yeah, I was wondering. I'm wondering when that's going to happen, but I recently applied for and was granted an official U.S. trademark on the term Mother Box, and you're going to be seeing it here soon. As part of a new, new.
I named my first iPhone. I named Mother Box.
My home network is named Mother Box.
Yeah. Dan, that's amazing. I feel like I should just write to DC Legal right now. This Dan Sheen guy needs to get sued. And just so you can write back.
Please do, because that would be the best thing I could ever do if I got sued.
I would say that to people. I'd say stuff like that to people all the time. When we would publish stuff, we would do like stuff on purpose to get sued. Like I used Judge Judy and Jay Leno and stuff in the bod, the thing I did for Image, the double image thing. And they're all like, shouldn't we just kind of like generic that up? I'm like, no, I can't think of a faster way to get onto Jay Leno. Like all I have to do is say, yeah, they're suing me about this, little old me doing funny books. So yeah, that's why I'll do you this favor and have DC Legal yell at you so you can go, oh no, it's a trademark. Here's the copy of the paperwork.
Please have them send me a cease and desist. please. There's so many more comments, but I'm sorry, we're about out of time here, guys. Unless there's anything pressing, I got to get out of here. Larry's got to get out of here, but I promise we'll be back soon because I have an overflowing $1 million mailbox.
I got to get onto the chat stream and answer some guys because I don't know anything about the Comic Gate guys, and I would love to tie. If people want to know what I think about stuff, that's my dream. I'll tell you all day long.
Please ask. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what. Larry's coming back. I'm going to do this a lot sooner the next one because I have so many books to stack up. Okay, so, Larry, I gotta bail. I'm gonna
man
skedaddle. Thanks again, man.
This thanks for having me.
It's no fun without you.
Yeah,
it's not fun without you. I've tried other ways of doing this. It's only fun. It's only as fun with you.
Right on, man. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you. Thanks, I love.
See you around. Oops. Love him so much, I'll just cut him off mid-sentence. Okay. Who else do I love? I love all of you guys. There's 39 people still watching. We've had around 40 people watching this entire stream. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for the super chat, Gabriel. I really appreciate it. Come on the Jack show tonight. Jump in. I don't know what that is, guys. If you want to send me an invite to somewhere, go ahead and send it to dan@danshaheen.com. Go check it out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, subscribing if you did or didn't or whatever. But please consider leaving a comment down below. Larry wants to hear from you. If you want to engage with Lair Dog, you could do it in the comments down below. He might be jumping into the comments now. I don't know. I've got to get out of here. But we have one extra special cameo. Remember, I always have a secret comic book cameo at the end of the credits, just like any good comic book movie. If you're a fan, you stick around for the credits, right? So today's no exception. I've got a clip that I specially handpicked for today's original broadcast. Oh yeah, it's by your guy EVS, and I'm gonna say, everybody was like, Dan, you're gonna be there with the gotcha clips, right? You better watch out. Some people even think he didn't show up today because of some legal advice he may have gotten due to repercussions from our last stream. I don't know if that's true or not. But anyway, thanks for watching. Check out these credits. Stick around for the cameo at the end where you're going to get to hear Ethan Van Sciver say what I think he would agree is the worst thing that he's ever said. And we're going to see you next week with Heroinberg and Marvin Wynn. We're going to be talking about his book, The Edge. He sent me his Kickstarter stuff, including, a little boxed PVC figure. We'll look at that on the $1 Million PVC cam. But when will we do that? Oh, you know when it's going to be. It's going to be next time.
Welcome to Comic Artist Pro Secrets, another huge event. That's what we do here. I like to bring you the best of the best, and we have someone who, if this man is not a legend in comics, I don't know who is. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, this guy has written everything from everything important to DC, everything important at Marvel Comics, and he's gone on to really underpin Boom Studios. He is a chief creative force now at Archie Comics. This guy's name is synonymous with comic books. Very, very proud to present Mark Waid.
That's me. Hey, sir, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great. It's great to see you.
Yeah, good. What a great intro. I'm going to get you to follow me around for the rest of my life. Just give that,
That's what we do here. We like to pump things up, and let's be honest, it's fair. I mean, you have done a little bit of everything. And, one of my favorite things that you've done, as I just mentioned briefly, was your run on the Flash.